My wife swore she hadn't seen her ex since before our wedding. Then I found their full circle cafe photo. Hi, I'm Marcus, 38, and last week I found a wedding invitation in my mailbox, addressed to my wife from a man I didn't know. At first, I thought it was junk mail, the kind of pastel envelope you toss without even opening. But then I saw her name, Lena Harper, written in tight, careful cursive, and beneath it the words, "You're invited to celebrate love with us." I blinked. Love with who? Inside was an elegant card, thick, embossed, gold-trimmed, a picture of two hands intertwined, and a date in April. The groom's name was Damian Vance. I had never heard of him, never met him, but he was apparently marrying someone named Maya Reese. It still didn't make sense until I flipped the card over. There, at the bottom, in smaller print, was a line that made my chest tighten. "We wouldn't be here without you, Lena. Thank you for everything." I just stood there, envelope in one hand, invitation in the other, in the middle of my kitchen, while the sink overflowed from a forgotten glass. My wife was in the living room, feet up, scrolling her phone like nothing in the world was off. I walked in and asked, "Hey, do you know a Damian Vance?" She didn't even look up. "Hmm? Oh, yeah, why?" That's when my stomach dropped, the way she said it. Too casual, like this was a name I should have known. I held up the card. "Because he's getting married, and he says he wouldn't be here without you." She looked at it, blinked once, then went completely still. That's when she said it. "Oh, right, I should probably explain that." I felt the floor disappear under me. She set her phone down like it weighed 1,000 pounds. For a second, she just stared at the invitation in my hand. Then she patted the couch next to her. "Sit," she said. I didn't. "I'd rather stand," I said. "Explain." Lena exhaled through her nose like she was bracing herself. "It's not what you think." I said nothing, just waited. "I used to know Damien," she said, finally. "A few years ago, before we were married. We've been married 7 years, Lena." "I know." She rubbed her forehead. "I met him when I was still in school. He was a mess. Bad family, drinking too much, no direction. I helped him get into rehab, get back in school. That's all. And now he's getting married and, what, he's sending thank you notes to every woman who babysat his trauma?" She looked up at me, eyes sharper now. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" She hesitated. "It was more than just a friendship, okay? For a while. But it ended, long before you. He was in a bad place. I helped him get out. That's it." "Did you keep in touch?" She didn't answer right away, which was an answer. "Lena." "Sometimes. Emails, a few texts, birthdays. He always said he wanted to thank me if he ever turned his life around." My heart was hammering, not out of jealousy, but something worse, that creeping realization that there might be a version of my wife, an entire era of her life I didn't know existed, and she'd kept it that way. "So you just never thought to mention the guy you practically rehabbed into a new man?" She flinched a little. "I didn't think it mattered. It was over." "Was it?" She stood up. "You know what? I get why this looks bad, Marcus, but I didn't cheat on you. I never even saw him after we got married." "You never saw him," I repeated, "but you kept texting, and now he's getting married to someone else and thanking you for it." She crossed her arms. "You want the truth? He asked me to marry him once. I said no. He wasn't ready. He fell apart. I helped him rebuild, and now he's here, getting married to someone else, and that's great. Good for him." That should have made me feel better, but it didn't, because in the silence that followed, all I could think about was how her voice cracked just slightly when she said it. I didn't sleep that night. Lena fell asleep fast, back turned to me, one hand curled under her pillow like nothing had happened. Meanwhile, I lay on my side of the bed staring at the ceiling, my brain spinning out into 100 versions of reality, each worse than the last. This wasn't jealousy. I've seen Lena get hit on at restaurants. I've watched exes comment on her Facebook photos. That stuff rolls off me. This was different.
This was a man who once proposed to my wife before I even knew her, and who was now, years later, thanking her for everything in a wedding invitation mailed to my house. A man she never mentioned. A man she still texted. I didn't say anything the next morning, neither did she. But later that day, during lunch at work, I did something I'm not proud of. I searched Damian Vance on social media. It didn't take long. He had one of those accounts that screamed, "New life, new me." Clean aesthetic, wellness quotes, gym photos, and the occasional black and white post with his fiancée, Maya. She looked sweet, happy, and completely unaware. I scrolled, farther and farther. Then I saw it. A photo from 8 months ago. Him sitting at a small cafe, sunlight across the table, a blurry figure across from him, just the edge of a face, barely visible. But I knew that hair. Lena's hair. The caption read, "Full circle moment. Coffee with an old friend who saved my life. You know who you are." My stomach turned. She'd said they hadn't seen each other, not since before we got married. I closed the app, shoved my phone in my pocket, and went to the bathroom before I did something stupid. I didn't confront her that night. Not right away. I waited until the kids were asleep, the dishes were done, the house quiet. Then I pulled up the photo on my phone and slid it across the table. "You said you hadn't seen him since before we got married." Lena froze. Her lips parted slightly. "That's not what it looks like," she said quietly. "Lena," she sighed. "Okay, I saw him once, earlier this year. He asked, said he just wanted to say thank you. It was supposed to be 5 minutes. We sat, we talked, that was it." "You lied to me." "I didn't lie, You lied." I stood up from the table. "And now you're telling me it meant nothing? But he's sending wedding invitations thanking you for everything. You think that looks like nothing?" She didn't answer, because she knew the truth, and so did I. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. I didn't go home the next night. Told Lena I had a work thing, crashed at a buddy's place. Truth was, I needed space, the kind where your own bed doesn't feel like it's waiting to betray you. Lena didn't blow up my phone. One text, "I hope you're safe." That's it. I don't know what bothered me more, the lie or how easily it rolled off her. And not just any lie, a surgical lie. A lie designed to dodge landmines, like she'd practiced it. That morning at my friend Will's place, while we downed bad coffee and even worse breakfast tacos, he finally said it. "Dude, are you sure there wasn't more to it? Like now?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to believe it. But something about that coffee shop photo stuck in my head. How Damian captioned it like a love letter. How Lena's face was mostly cropped out, like he was hiding her on purpose. And then there was the damn thank you line on the invite. "We wouldn't be here without you." That's not just sentimental, that's intimate, too intimate. So I did the one thing I swore I'd never do in our marriage. When I went home the next day, Lena was out with the kids. I had the house to myself for maybe an hour. I used every second. I opened her laptop. I know, but I had to see. I had to know what I was being asked to forgive. She hadn't cleared anything. Maybe she didn't think she needed to. I found an email folder buried under something called Old Accounts. Inside were messages between her and Damian, dozens stretching back 5 years. Most were tame, catching up, checking in, life updates. But one thread from 9 months ago stopped me cold. "Damian, sometimes I still think about what would have happened if you'd said yes."
Lena? Don't. We both moved on. You're better now. That's what matters. I was better when I was with you. Damian, please. That was the end of the thread. No big dramatic confession, no plans to meet, but also no shutdown. No, this is inappropriate. No, I'm married. I closed the laptop like it was radioactive. She hadn't cheated, at least not physically, but there was something alive between them, something that hadn't been buried, and now was crawling through the cracks of my marriage like water through old wood. When she got home, I was waiting in the kitchen. She knew. She didn't even ask. "You read the emails," she said. I nodded. She leaned against the counter, eyes red but dry. "I didn't cheat on you, Marcus." I believed her, but that wasn't the point anymore. I stared at her for a long time before I finally asked the one question I never thought I'd have to ask. If he had asked again,
Would you have said yes? Her lips parted. She started to speak, then stopped. She didn't answer. And that was the answer. She didn't chase me when I left, didn't beg, didn't cry, didn't fall to her knees and say I was the only man she'd ever love. Maybe that's a dumb expectation, but when your whole world tilts sideways, you want at least one person to fight like hell to keep it upright. I stayed with Will again. He didn't say much this time, just handed me a beer and turned on some old martial arts movie, the kind we used to watch in college when neither of us had rent money or reliable heat. I didn't even drink it, just sat there holding the can, hearing Lena's silence over and over in my head. If he had asked again, would you have said yes? She didn't answer. That silence was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. The next morning, I woke up to a message from her. Just a text. No apology, no explanation. The kids are asking for you. Can we talk after dinner? I stared at it for a long time. Thought about just replying no. Thought about ghosting my own marriage for a second, which tells you how far gone I was. Instead, I just wrote, I'll be there at 8. When I walked through the door, the kids lit up. My son hugged me so hard I almost broke right there. My daughter asked if I wanted to watch her new drawing app. She showed me a pink dog that looked like it had anxiety. I told her it was perfect. Lena hovered in the kitchen. Still beautiful, still mine, but at that moment she felt like someone I didn't know anymore. After the kids went to bed, we sat in the living room. I waited. She didn't waste time. Marcus, I was in love with him back then. I thought he was the one. And when I said no to him, I told myself it was because I was doing the right thing. He wasn't ready. But I was also scared of what kind of life we'd have. The instability, the drama. And me? What was I? You were safe, she said. And then you weren't just safe, you were kind. You were funny. You made things easy. Easy. Like that was a compliment. I stood up, paced to the fireplace and back. So what am I now? The prize for second place? No, she snapped. God, Marcus, you're my husband. I love you. I chose you. You chose me because you didn't think he'd ever get his act together. She looked away. I didn't know he would. And when he did, I asked, when he came back all shiny and sober and sending you wedding invites, did some part of you want him to ask again? Her silence came again. Not as long this time, but long enough. Then she said, yes, for a second. I wanted to be wanted. I just nodded. No rage, no yelling. Just that numb kind of pain that's so sharp it feels like cold metal sliding between ribs. She whispered, but I never would have said yes. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I knew she meant it. But I also knew something else. The damage was already done. Because even if she wouldn't have said yes, she wanted the question. I stayed that night.
Not because we'd solved anything, but because I couldn't stomach the idea of my son waking up and thinking I was gone again. Because my daughter still drew pictures of all 4 of us in crayon. Me, her brother, and Lena in the middle with a red heart over her head. Kids don't understand emotional betrayal. They just know when the rhythm changes. So I slept in the guest room. Lena didn't come in. She didn't knock. The house stayed quiet except for the hum of the dishwasher and the occasional sound of the floor creaking under someone's weight. Probably hers. Maybe mine. Hard to tell anymore. In the dark, I stared at the ceiling, asking myself a question I hadn't dared to until then. If she hadn't lied, would I still be this angry? If she had told me months ago, hey, Damien's getting married, he sent me a weird thank you, it brought up some stuff, would I have spiraled? Maybe, but not like this. Not with this fog of betrayal in my chest. Not with this feeling that I'd been some footnote in her real love story. I kept hearing that line over and over. I wanted to be wanted. That was the problem. Not the coffee shop, not the email, not even the wedding invitation. It was the hole I didn't know existed inside my wife, the one I hadn't been able to fill.
The next morning, I made pancakes for the kids. Lena helped. No big conversation, just teamwork. She didn't try to touch me, didn't smile too much, just handed me the plates like we were co-workers on a shift neither of us wanted to be on. After the kids went to school, she sat on the back deck while I pretended to be busy with the trash bins. Eventually, I joined her. She was holding a mug, but not drinking, just turning it slowly in her hands. "I've been thinking," she said, "about therapy, together or alone. I don't know." I nodded. "Good. I don't want to lose us." I looked out at the backyard. The grass needed mowing. The swing set was crooked. "You already lost part of us. I don't know how to get that back." She wiped under her eye quickly, like she didn't want me to see. "I didn't cheat. I know. I was selfish. I kept secrets. I wanted to protect something that didn't exist anymore. Some version of me that still mattered to him." I finally looked at her. "You matter to me." Her voice broke when she said, "I know. That's the part that makes it worse." We didn't talk more after that, just sat, side by side, like two people watching a storm that had already passed, but left the sky too strange to trust. That afternoon, a letter came in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. I almost didn't open it, but something about the handwriting looked familiar, like I'd seen it once on the back of a wedding invitation. Inside was one sheet of paper. No greeting, no signature. Just a single sentence. "You should ask her why she was at my apartment 6 months ago." I dropped it. Not out of fear, out of exhaustion. Because I already knew what this was. The second wave. The part where Damien tried to finish what Lena hadn't let him start. She wasn't home when I opened it. At her sister's, apparently. I sat with that note in my hand for over an hour, debating whether to believe it, whether to ask, whether to care. But eventually, I picked up my phone and called her. She answered on the second ring. "Hey?" "You were at his apartment," I said, no preamble. Silence, then a shaky inhale. "Yes," she said. I closed my eyes. That confirmation hit harder than I expected. "I didn't do anything," she whispered. "But yes, I lied. I'm sorry. I didn't say anything. Because this wasn't about what she did. It was about what she was willing to risk doing, about what she kept to herself while I tucked our kids in and changed air filters and bought her favorite cereal without her asking. I hung up without saying goodbye. For the first time in weeks, I realized I wasn't afraid of losing her anymore. I was afraid of what I'd already lost. That night, I didn't go home. I didn't go to Will's either. I drove. No destination, no plan. Just the wheel under my hands and the hollow thud of my own heartbeat in my ears. At one point, I ended up at a 24-hour diner, the kind with sticky tables and waitresses who call you hun without looking up. I sat in a booth with a lukewarm coffee and nothing else. I didn't even drink it, just stared at the steam until it faded. I thought about Damien, about the apartment, about the kind of man who waits until a woman chooses someone else and then keeps the door open anyway. But mostly, I thought about Lena, and how I didn't recognize her anymore. When I finally walked back into our house around 1:30 a.m., the lights were off, except for the one above the stove. That was always her way of saying, "I hope you come home, but I won't ask." She was asleep on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, phone on her chest. I stood there for a long time, just watching her, trying to remember the version of her from our first year, laughing in her sleep, barefoot in the kitchen, singing off-key while making lasagna. That version felt like a stranger now, a dream I couldn't get back to. In the morning, I woke up in our bed, alone. Lena was already downstairs with the kids, packing lunches like nothing had happened, like we weren't standing on top of the crater that used to be our marriage. She didn't say a word to me, and I didn't ask her anything. After the kids left, she finally broke the silence.
"I'm going to move out," she said. I looked up. "Not because I want to leave you," she added, "but because I can't keep pretending this isn't broken, and I don't want the kids to grow up thinking this is how love looks." I nodded slowly. I hadn't realized how much I needed to hear someone say that. "I don't want to raise them in a house full of silence and sharp edges," she whispered. "They deserve better. So do you." I didn't argue. I didn't beg her to stay, because the truth was, I agreed. She packed a small bag that afternoon, stayed at her sister's, said she'd come by after school pickups, keep the schedule steady, no abrupt changes, no drama. And that night, I found myself in the living room with 2 sleeping kids and the quietest house I'd ever stood in. I looked around and realized I didn't miss her presence. I missed the version of her that never existed. It's been 3 months. Lena still comes by, mostly for the kids. We've worked out a schedule. Civil, structured, numb. She parks on the street, never in the driveway. We don't touch. We don't linger. The longest conversation we've had was who's bringing cupcakes to the 3rd grade reading party. There's a weird calm now, a kind of truce that feels less like healing and more like cleanup. Like the fire's out, but you're still picking glass out of the carpet barefoot. The kids adjusted faster than I did. My daughter still draws 4 of us, but now she adds a second house next to ours. And the heart over Lena's head, it's still there, but she draws one over mine now too, like she's trying to say, I don't have to choose. My son asked me once, "Are you and Mom ever going to get back together?" I didn't lie. I said, "I don't think so, bud, but we'll always be your parents. That part doesn't break." He nodded like he understood more than he should. He probably did. As for Damien, he got married. Maya posted a video from the wedding. Someone tagged Lena in the comments. I didn't watch it, but I saw the thumbnail. Him in a suit, her in a white dress, a caption that read, "Here's to second chances." I laughed, out loud, sitting on my porch with a beer and a chipped lawn chair. I laughed like I was hearing the dumbest joke in the world. Second chances. What a neat little lie. I deleted the tag and blocked them both. Marlene, remember her? She texted the next day, "You see that sappy crap?"
I swear he writes in Hallmark cards now. I told her I didn't care. And for once, I meant it. There's a kind of grief that comes when you realize someone you love didn't choose you. They chose the version of themselves they could be around you. That's what Lena and I had. Not a love story, a mirror. She saw peace in me, and I saw loyalty in her. But mirrors crack, and when they do, they don't make a sound. You just look one day and realize your face is in pieces. Last week, I started therapy. Real therapy, not just venting to Will over a beer while pretending it's helping. The therapist asked me what I wanted from this. I told her to stop writing endings to a story that already finished. She nodded, wrote something down. And for the first time since that damn envelope showed up in my mailbox, I felt like maybe there's a way forward. Not back, forward. Today, I took the kids out for pancakes. We laughed. We spilled syrup. Jessie called me Chef Dad, even though I didn't cook a thing. Ela asked if she could bring her friend Maya over next weekend. Different Maya. Better Maya. On the drive home, I realized something. The life I thought I lost, it was never mine. But this one, messy, quiet, and honest, is. And this time, no one's getting past the door unless they earn their way in. End.